In today's business world, success is often measured by speed, scale, and bottom lines. But what if the true measure of leadership is how you get there, not just how far you go? Ethical entrepreneurship is not a soft skill, it's a strategic edge. And in this episode, we're unpacking why it matters now more than ever. So let's get ready and dig in. Hello there. Welcome to Best in Class Series Leadership Podcast, the show where we explore the habits, decisions, and mindsets that set exceptional leaders apart. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today we're tackling a topic that's gaining urgency in boardrooms and startups alike. We're talking about ethical entrepreneurship. How do leaders balance performance with principles in real high-stake decisions? Well, we're going to find out. And today I'm absolutely thrilled because our guest is an expert in this area. Today we have Jennifer Gligoric, who is with us, and as a certified business coach and fractional consultant, she specializes in helping clinic owners strengthen their foundations, overcome critical challenges, and scale their practices effectively. With over 2 decades of experience in business crisis intervention and optimizing remote workplaces, she empowers clinic owners to harness the power of technology to repair, grow, and sustain thriving businesses. Jennifer, I am so thrilled to welcome you to our Best in Class series today. Welcome.
And after that, I just feel like my head can't fit into the screen. I'm very excited to be here.
Fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation, right? Because I've been in organizational leadership for over 3 decades now. And as we watch how the trends in society, entrepreneur, it really has gone from being an option to kind of a way of life for many leaders these days.
Mhm.
And I find that it's important for us as leaders to contemplate and to commit to ethical entrepreneurship. Why? Because leadership is no longer judged solely by results, but it's judged by how the results are achieved. So I'm going to jump right in here. I want to ask you this first question. Let's start with the basics, Jennifer. How do you define ethical entrepreneurship, and how does it differ from traditional business practices?
Well, ethical entrepreneurship, the new wave of this stems from your divine purpose. Are you
Mm,
working towards your divine purpose? And do you have a divine responsibility towards that? So,
mm,
what I mean by that is that like right now, or not right now, but I don't know if anyone has social social media, but there was a CEO of a firm who went to a Coldplay concert
mm,
and it just blew up. He was, he did something that was very immoral and unethical. He gets caught. He made a
mhm,
statement that was absolutely ridiculous.
mhm.
And it really blew open this conversation again. Right.
Yes,
So it blew it
yes.
open because he was with the head of HR of all places that shouldn't be doing anything like this. It blew up because of just the astounding, just privilege and that he had, like, I can do whatever I want and nobody should say anything to it, and
Mm,
it's not my fault. And so we're talking a lot about ethics and how it relates to morality, but really in business leaders, if you're wanting to start a business or you're in a business and you have that fear, like, I want to do things right, I want to be a good person.
mhm,
Well, that's wonderful, but you have to think of what were you put on the planet to do. Too many people just want to make money, and
mhm.
I'm not stupid about it. I have to make money. I've got bills. I've got a kid who's going to college. I'm a single parent. I mean, I need money to eat, right? Like, that's
Absolutely.
we
Absolutely.
all do. It's a transactional exchange, whether you're working for someone else, someone pays me and I work for them and I'm doing this for money, right? So I'm
Mhm,
not negating this or trying to say, everybody can be in some woo-woo place, like I just want to, watch TV all day. You're probably not going to make a lot of money at that, right? But
Right.
we all have a real purpose, and we kind of know that it's not to watch TV all day or to be consumers. We have to be people of action. And what are we going to do with that? And usually by the time you've started a business, you've kind of figured it out. You want to bring maybe color to the world, and that's why you're a florist and you love
Mhm.
flowers, you love plants. Or I work with a lot of healthcare owners, right? Healthcare clinic owners. So doctors, chiropractors, dentists, and they have a very strong purpose. I want to
Yes.
make people healthier, right? And so when you think of that center, and in very practical ways, you need to really define what that purpose is for the business. I'm going to create this, and this is what the purpose is going to be. And
Yes.
if you're a chiropractor, my purpose will be to make the people of San Diego live pain-free without drugs and alcohol.
Mm.
That's a great purpose. My next question, if you say your purpose to someone, their next knee-jerk reaction should be, wow, well, how are you going to do that? And that's
Mhm.
the promise of the business. Well, I've created a 3-month program where I utilize this, this, and this over years of testing, and I can get you out of it.
Mhm.
Or, we responsibly source where our flowers come from. And we love working with local farms and local areas. And, I don't cut down trees. I don't know all the stuff with that, but, you would come up with something that would be oh, well, that sounds fascinating. You need
Mhm.
to geek out more about why you're doing what you're doing. And the
Yes.
rest of it falls into place. So when you come to that center, then suddenly you now have metrics that you can track. Now, I'm a big
Yes.
person on data. So
Mhm.
if we're going to do this, how do we know if we're doing a good job? Well, everyone in town's going to love me. They're going to talk about me and love me. Okay,
Mhm.
great. How can we track that? Well, they're either going to refer people to you, they're going to give you 5-star reviews, they're going to upsell into something else, they're going to stay in your membership or your program for longer. So let's track it. And then every month, let's talk about it. Are we making the impact we said we wanted?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you're competing in business. Too many people go, oh, look at what the competition's doing, and you want to do this. And that pulls them out somehow from what their purpose is, their unique differentiator in the market. You're in business, you're competing against you month after month after month.
Mhm.
Once you get into that, then suddenly all the rest of that noise falls away. It's you figuring out you communicating with your own clients, you
Mhm.
figuring out where they live in social media because you're asking them more. I mean, it's when you go back to ethical entrepreneurship of how I'm going to do it to the most and I'm talking get down granular. What is
Yes.
my divine purpose? The
Mm.
rest becomes so much easier.
I love this. I love this. So, here in Best of Class series, we always take a few moments for those who are listening and watching to do some reflection. And Jennifer has shared some powerful nuggets with us where this is a good point for you to take out your notebook, your iPad, whatever your note taking device is, and ask yourself some questions, right? She talked to us about purpose. As you are leading, what is the purpose? How do you have clarity there, right? One of the things I thought about while you were talking was this right here. It says ethical entrepreneurship isn't a nice to have, it's a leadership responsibility. You want to get out there, you want to lead, right? You want to be in charge. What's your responsibility? To understand your purpose, to have vision, to have clarity. Why? Because how you build matters just as much as what you build. So, Jennifer, I want to ask you this question, right? From your perspective and your experience, what are 3 essential mindsets, or what are some mindsets that an owner, a leader must master in order to achieve growth?
Well, the easiest one to master is the fulfillment part of it. The what you brought to the table to make you decide to be in this business or whatever industry you're in. If you're creative, your creative thinking brain. If you're the accountant, your accounting brain. You have to be in the space of uh, your biggest strength, right? So that most people, when they first create a company, they actually create a job for themselves. And so in order for you to not be your worst boss, where you never give yourself a vacation, your employee has no work-life balance and they're burnt out and miserable, then that's where the other mindsets come into play. And so the second mindset is the CEO mindset, the one that really looks at the business as a whole in its working parts. It's still seeing the day to day. It's still there as the CEO, but it starts to see how the different parts interact. So when you think you're a solopreneur, you're doing it all. But at one point, you're going to have to pull out and say, where are my bottlenecks on this? And in any service-based business, which is what I usually work with, it's going to be admin or fulfillment. And then you're going to make those changes. And then the third mindset is the shareholder mindset. That's where you really get the mile high view of this business, where it sits in the market, what the market really needs, and the future exit strategy for this business. And so those are three totally different people, but every entrepreneur needs to work to understand the differences between those mindsets and to put on those hats and go, okay, I'm not going to be a doctor right now. Right now, I'm going to be a CEO of this clinic. Okay, I'm not going to be the CEO now. I'm going to look at the shareholder who I'm beholden to as the CEO. And it is a difference. You ask yourself different questions and you think about it differently. And when you can put those hats on, then you can do it. And some people can't. And so they hire the right person to do it. They realize that, boy, I'm not really good in that shareholder role, but I can get someone to help me with that, and then bring them in so they can ask those questions, so that you can be working towards, because you need to know the exit strategy to be able to know where you're going. Too many people start and it's kind of like college. I worked with a coach, Donovan Dreyer. He works with kids, and he gets them to get to where they really want to be in life before they go to college. So he works to figure out the top of the mountain where they really want to go, rather than have them flail through college with not even knowing what their major is going to be ahead of time. And awesome success with those kids. And a lot of those kids end up not choosing college because they realize that's really not for them. They go into trades, they go into entrepreneurship, and they avoid literally wasting years of their life just trying to follow a path that really isn't for them.
1000%. So listen, you have me curious right now. I'm totally enjoying this. So I want to ask you this question. Why is it important more than ever for entrepreneurs to prioritize ethics? Why do you believe, or why do you see that is important now more than ever?
Now more than ever, because look at what we're dealing with, right? I mean, it's really bad. I'm not going to say that, but we have, we're supposed to have free markets. And in capitalism, it's supposed to promote free markets, the young, innovative people being able to go and create a business and to put a roof and shelter over their head and take care of a family. But instead, we have these monopolies that are all kind of government controlled. It's not really free. It's not like real capitalism. It's a perversion of what's going on. When we found out, when Elon Musk took over Twitter, that they had entire people that were with the feds that were working there, and under congressional oath, the people who worked at Twitter were like, we don't even know what they do, but they're paying them and they're monitoring what everyone's saying. How is that not the government's embedded in this quote unquote private company? The same thing with Amazon, the same thing with Google, the same thing with, all the biggest things. There's an entire group called Daybrook, and you can sign up for free to their listings. And it'll say government representative for Kroger, working at Kroger corporate, government representative for this. So, that's a whole other thing. But what I'm saying is how to compete against that is we go back to our roots of ethical entrepreneurship. I am not so jaded, even as a Gen X who is, we're all apathetic. I'm so apathetic. But I have not gotten so jaded. I don't believe we can't change the world. There's more of us than there are of that. And I think the biggest kind of FU to the system was during COVID when, they locked the world down. We as Americans, I'm so proud of us for this. We managed to create an entire other economy on this app called TikTok. 9 million small businesses decided, well, if I can't work, what am I going to do? And people went back to the drawing board and said, you know what? I'm not really happy to begin with. And they created their own businesses out of passion projects. I mean, if
Mhm.
you look at how many people that are creating and woodworking and homesteading and doing all this stuff who created shops and economies when nobody could do anything, that is one of just, it warms the cockles of my Black and Gen X heart. It really does. And it was all through this ethical entrepreneurship of them sitting going, I'm really unhappy. I don't like the politics or the things of what was happening. I think I can work on my divine purpose and my divine responsibility, and I'm just going to do it because I have nothing to lose. They had nothing to lose at this point because it had been taken away.
Mhm.
And look at the beauty that came from that. I saw a lady who is working as a research scientist, and she
Mhm.
talked about how it just got political and weird and blah, blah, blah. And all she wanted to do is play with chemicals all day long. Well, she was like a Hogwarts Harry Potter lover, and
Mhm.
she ended up going, I know how chemicals can react to different things and become really cool. And I also love this aesthetic, right? So she creates these bottles and she puts wax and all this cool stuff on it, and if you shake it, it can turn colors, it disappears and different things like that. And someone would probably say, you'll never make a business out of it. She's making more money making that now than she ever did as a master, or I think she even had a PhD research scientist. So
Mhm.
yeah, you can do stuff like that. Just get into your creative self. What am I put in here to do, and do it. And it's because of that, it's now people are competing. We're competing against that. We're choosing alternate ways to break the system in some that has been set up to do it differently. And if it
Mhm.
isn't for small businesses, I mean, we can change the world through this. It's really heartening. I'm going to tell you guys, it really is. That's why it's so important. It's when you choose yourself at the end of the day and you choose to get out of something that you know isn't working, you know it's broken, and you have an idea to do it better, you have a purpose and responsibility to do it for
Mhm.
you and for everyone else.
Absolutely. And I love this, right? Because when we, as you're talking and we think about ethics, so first of all, you keep talking about purpose. And it's so important that as you're listening to Jennifer and she's talking about purpose, as you're trying to step out or you're stepping into that lane of being an entrepreneur, you really need to be doing this because you're passionate about it, not because you think it's just the next greatest thing to get into, because that will not be sustainable. And as you are doing this, the ethical side of it also comes in where trust is the new currency. You heard Jennifer talk about the latest things that we're seeing with people who are leaders, right? And we're shaking our head like, what in the world is going on? Trust is broken now. Though the company that they're part of, that trust is broken. And the company has to do damage control, right? The same thing goes for us. When we are dishonest, or if we're dishonest, if we lose the currency with the same people that we are trying to engage, transparency now is no longer an option. I mean, Jennifer, you talked about TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Like, everybody's life is a reality TV show right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no privacy anywhere. And in order to engage, people want to know that you're real. They want to know that you're not AI, you're not some robot, right? That you are real. When they see you on the screen, they see your product. They want to know that transparency is there. And the world needs you to be honest, to maintain your
Yes.
value system. And that goes back to what Jennifer was saying, right? About understanding your purpose. When you understand your purpose, then your who, your how, your why, it comes together. You don't have to fight to make it happen. It comes together seamlessly. So, Jennifer, as we have this conversation, right, about ethics and encouraging people to understand their value and their purpose, from your perspective, what have you seen as far as what are some of the most common ethical dilemmas that entrepreneurs face? And how can an entrepreneur that's facing a dilemma, how can they navigate with integrity?
I would say one of the biggest things that I see is how to pay people and the this outsource culture. On one hand, they want to support local. They want to have stronger neighborhoods, stronger just stronger family and friends, and they want their friend people to have jobs, but yet their first knee jerk reaction is to say, how can I get someone in for $3 an hour to work with me? And they shoot themselves in the foot when they do that. Now, I know that it's really difficult, right? And one of the things that, we're that's helping with this is AI. And I'm kind of there's the whole half of me that's like Terminator, kill it with fire. What are we doing? It's going to destroy the world. And then the other half of me uses AI because I love technology and I'm kind of innovative, but I'm like, wow, what used to take me a week now only takes me, a matter of an hour or two. I'm able to do more of what I love for more people to get it out there with AI. So I would say that in a real world application, look for AI, and then if you can, hire a local expert for less hours, but get someone who truly understands and is aligned with your purpose, where there's not time zone issues and language issues and all this stuff that make you do all the work. I've seen people spend so much more money on $5 to $15 an hour outsourced people because the communication was wrong. They'd have to re-edit it. They'd get multiple reviews for logos and graphics and all sorts of, even Excel spreadsheets and things like that. And when they could have hired someone locally for like one decent rate, it would have been done right the first time, and they would have saved so much time. And time is really the biggest issue of money. So I would say really look at how you're doing that, and don't be afraid to commit to a good budget and to find someone, because there still are a lot of people. It's a lie that there aren't. Right? That is a lie. That is a limiting belief, and it just really isn't true. So I would say that's one of the things. Utilize AI when you can. You're going to have to. It is changing everything, and it's changing it right now. So I would utilize that, because if we take our experts out, then what we get is not good products. It's the expertise, the human experience, the ability to ask the right questions of AI to get that tool. So you're going to have to use that. So I would say that's the biggest ethical thing. The second thing is jumping right into sales and marketing without doing your due diligence for basic things like your contracts, making sure that you have the right permits where you're at, and doing that correctly. So that's just basic paperwork. Get that done. Make sure that if you do hire someone, you have them under a contract. It's all written. You want to keep it black and white. This is what's expected, and this is what you'll get from that. It's a transactional agreement. Do that. Don't do this. Well, we'll work it out. You're never going to get a high quality person to work with you if that's how you speak. If that's how you get people to work with you. And then the next thing is that don't lie. You should know not to lie, but a lot of people will lie. They'll be like, well, that's marketing. It's just lies. Well, no, stop that. That may have been in the 80s where greed is good and all that, and those are fun times and all that, but the world's different now. People are savvy. They're going to know you're lying, and you're going to get in big trouble. They're going to get refunds. They'll do chargebacks. So you don't want to lie in an ad. You want to exactly, when you're looking for someone, tell them about the job and the company you actually have. If you have a lot of turnover and you can't keep someone, it's because you advertised and interviewed for a job that didn't exist. And when they went to work for the company, they're like, what is this place? This isn't what I thought it was. That's a type of lie that happens a lot. The second lie is in the marketing. Let's say you have a clinic and you say, we believe in innovative solutions for this, and you use state of the art and you use these words and it sounds great. And you're using, a bot to do it, not even you. And then the people walk in and you still have a rotary phone, and there's like, water stain on the thing. And somebody's like, hello, can I help you? That's not state of the art. What are you talking about? It's a disconnect. Automatically they went from going, I'm excited, to what is this? Turning their head back and forth. So you want to do video if you can, and you want to be honest about what your true differentiator is, what your real passion is. Get that out and then find it. Don't lie about who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, and don't lie about who you really want to work with, because it'll get right to them. No, it'll get right to them in their ads. Yeah.
Yeah, and the product that you're offering, the product and the resource. I'm going to
Mhm.
tell you, I had an example of that today. I went online probably about 2 weeks ago. I saw a product. The product looked wonderful in the picture. I'm like, oh yes, I need that. I ordered it and got it in the mail today. I'm like, what? It looked nothing like the picture, and I just said, oh my goodness,
You need to do a TikTok on that. You need to say what I wanted, what I got, right? That's a popular social media one. But that happens a lot. You're just like, what is this?
It does, but that company, like they instantly they lost my trust. Instantly, they will never get any more of my business. Instantly, if I can go online and write them a review, I will because I felt betrayed. I
Yeah.
felt literally betrayed, right? And so I say that to say, when we are leaders and we are not operating in a manner that is ethical, it's that same principle and feeling for those who we are engaging with. People feel betrayed. They feel a lack of a sense of security, right? It goes back to trust. And so, we want to encourage our leaders, as you are either considering or you are actually engaging, continue to make sure that you're ethical in your dealings. And so I'm going to ask you this question. They say that ethical entrepreneurship is the way of the future, right? Okay, so let's put that to the side because we already believe that. Mindset, or what are the core areas that you believe that every business needs to master in order to grow? What are some core areas every business needs to have or consider in order to grow?
Well, first of all, you have to have a clearly defined purpose. What is the main purpose for the business? It should be a clear, bold statement. Like
Yes.
I help the people of Galveston live pain free, or I believe that everyone should eat good, healthy, yummy food that is locally sourced. Right? Okay, great. Or whatever it is, like what your real core belief is, it should be front and center. That's if someone asks you what you do, don't say I'm an accountant, I'm a bookkeeper, I work at a chiropractor's office, or I am a That's the wrong answer. You need to tell them what your purpose is, and then you need to have a strong what's the promise of the business? What are you known for? You
Mm,
don't want to be known for a million different things. Don't have shiny object syndrome, like squirrel, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Be known for one thing. You don't want to be like, if you've ever been to a really small American town, there is
mhm,
always this one place that you go to and you're like, oh, this is a nice little shop slash travel agency slash postmaster
mhm.
slash sells you life insurance. And there's one dude looking
That-
like he's nuts who tries to do everything because he saw that there was a need, and he's probably not making a lot of money. He's got about 4 or 5 businesses barely eking by and unhappy. And then across the street, you'll see this one person and you'll say, what do you do? I make women's lashes look amazing. She has a lash bar and all she does is put lashes on, making money hand over fist, doing this
mm,
one laser focused thing. So you want to be like the lash lady. Figure out what it is and do it for purpose. Then you need to track your numbers. You
mm,
need to stop being afraid, and you need to ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't afraid?
mm,
You need to ask yourself that as a business owner every single day, because
mm,
it'll tell you the decisions that you're putting off because of limiting beliefs. Well,
mm.
if I wasn't afraid, I would make that call to that person that I think would be incredible to network with. And I'm just going to pitch them. That's what I'd
Yes.
do if I wasn't afraid. I'd go to the bank and I'd work on the loan. I'd say, what do I need to do to get where I need to go to get the money to buy this machine or whatever it is?
Mhm,
You would live a lot differently. Don't let fear drive any of your decisions because they're not going to be good ones.
mhm,
And when I say about tracking the numbers, you need to set goals and you need to say what your goal is. And if it is, I want people to love us. Great.
mhm,
How are you going to know when that's accomplished? And how are you going to track it?
mhm.
And then start to track it and challenge yourself every month. And then if you get other people involved, like your front desk staff or whatever you have, people that you work with, have a way that they can bonus off of it too, so they can be evangelists for your cause.
I
So if
see
you
that.
just do those things, it's
Mhm.
going to revolutionize. It'll change your business.
I love this. I love this. So again, we have a moment of reflection for those who are listening and watching, right? She gave us some very clear principles and points right now as we look at being ethical entrepreneurs, right? the mindset, the focus, the goals. And so I'm going to invite you to go back on the replay. If you missed it and didn't write it down, make sure you go back and you watch it, and don't just watch it, but talk to another leader about it, right? So I'm going to, as we turn the corner here, I want to ask you this final question. For the aspiring entrepreneur that's watching and listening right now, the one that wants to build ethically, like from day one, they don't want to cut corners, right? What core values or practices should they focus on first? Like, how would you tell this aspiring entrepreneur, this is step one, step two, this is how you should begin?
Well, number one, I'm going to say it again. Find out what your path of purpose is. What are you truly most passionate about? And then I would get that purpose. And then what's your promise to whatever your customer is going to be? Define it, write it down, and get yourself a good marketing strategy. And hire someone to work with you if you don't know how to do that. Get that strategy and execute it. Actions are greater than intentions. You want to get out there and do. You want to build the plane as you're flying it. Ask yourself, what would I do if I were not afraid? And then realize that mistakes will happen, things will happen, but that life is not happening to you, but for you. You have a tremendous amount of agency to change things in your life. And those are the lessons that you can take to propel yourself to the next level. So don't let any failure completely wreck you. Just learn from it and move forward.
I love that. Learn from it and move forward. All right. Those of you who are watching, hashtag learn from it, right? Jennifer told us to learn from it and move forward. That is the word for the day. Jennifer, I know that there are people who are watching and listening that want to contact you. Maybe they want to engage in your resources and hear a little bit more. So if there's somebody who's watching and listening, how can they engage with you or tap into your resources?
Yep, you can find me pretty easily. I have a podcast right now called superclinicproject.com. It's geared towards healthcare clinic owners, but I work with a lot of service-based owners. So if you click on that, you can either listen to, I give a lot of advice, me and other coaches, and I have a lot of great people on. But if you click on my picture, then there's a bunch of freebies you can get. Just click on my picture. It'll take you to a link. You can get into my free school. You can get into a trial mastermind, or you can book a free call with me, 15 minutes. I want you to bring me a challenge. This is what I'm challenged with right now. And give me 15 minutes and I will give you some great advice. And I love doing it. It's super fun for me. And I know you'll get a lot of value.
All right. So Transformation Station community, you heard it. Jennifer has given us an invitation. The link will also be in the description, regardless of what platform you're on, right? So make sure you click the link and you engage with Jennifer. She has free resources. Plus, I know you're going to get a lot of value from the incredible wisdom and insight that she will continue to share with you. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today. Super glad that you joined us here in the Best in Class series. Thank you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it so much.
Fantastic. All right. Well, there you have it. Another phenomenal episode here. We talked about ethical entrepreneurship and the fact that it isn't about perfection. It's about intentionality and understanding your purpose. And if today's episode sparked insight or encouragement, then I'm going to invite you right now to go ahead and share this with at least one other leader who needs to hear it. And oh, by the way, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review for Transformation Station, because it helps us to reach more leaders like you. So until next time, stay curious, stay committed, and lead with integrity.